And I'm sending you the request for sharing. And we are live today. It is time. It's time. I want to thank everyone that made it and made this time important for their health to improve. And I always say that thanking yourself for allowing the time for healing is already the beginning of healing. A lot of my clients are appreciative of that we spend this few seconds before the session to remind ourselves how important that is. And today I'm going to spend the time on discussion for chronic gut inflammation, including Crohn's and colitis, specifically for Crohn's and colitis. And I'm gonna let the ending of that presentation to be question and answer live in real time. We did get a couple of questions in advance, so we'll answer those if people will take a little time asking their question. And I am very, very grateful again for everyone that made it here today and spending the time with us. So, taking time to understand Crohn's and colitis as a complicated inflammatory bowel disease and being diagnosed can be scary, but not as much as being symptomatic. For some of my clients, getting diagnosed was actually a relief because they were sick for a while, and for some people it's easy to get diagnosed. They have those classic symptoms. CAT scan would show terminal ileum to be affected, or for colitis it's bloody diarrhea as a really common manifestation. But for others it becomes unclear because Crohn's and colitis in mild to moderate form can present itself as other conditions. I originally, for example, was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, although later on with Crohn's. Sometimes it's so unclear that doctors would leave you with an intermediate colitis diagnosis, which is somewhere in between. And they would most of the time address it as Crohn's versus colitis with the treatment. Again, depending on the symptom. And every case is very different. So that's what I really believe in, addressing everyone's issues in a very individual way. So we're here to uncover and discover things that you might not heard in other places. And I would love to introduce the world of functional medicine and integrative medicine addressing these issues, because it's not often that you will hear still from that traditional approach that they are offering integrative or functional medicine options. A little bit about myself. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease about a year to 2 years after my original diagnosis with ulcerative colitis. At that time, I was already a pharmacist, fully believing in the power of medicine, which I have not lost, but I just saw much more of the world of healing and medicine when I was healing, because at some point medications did not work for me, and at some point medications gave me more issues than I originally had. I did not feel better, but I felt so exhausted when I was 6-MP, for example, very, very potent drug. And I had a newborn. I had two babies practically, and I needed to take care of them. I needed to help them to two little babies to raise. I could not accept the reality that would have me completely debilitated from the medication therapy. And it was even harder to be a pharmacist educated well and to understand what the medication can do and all the side effects of medications. It was very, very difficult to 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 deal with that and see how I can get all these symptoms and I can get all these side effects. I needed to do something else. I needed to do more and I needed to break through. That's why I wanted to get into the world of more integrative approach, more holistic, more natural ways. I'm going to stop here for a second. I want to see if we are recording. We are not recording. Okay, let me see if I could record here. Okay, I'm gonna send the request to record. Okay, perfect. And again, my experience helped in a way, and it made me go further for more other types of healing. I also at the time was doing a lot of consulting that included lab interpretation and addressing people's issues from that perspective. So that gave me knowledge of the lab interpretation. And then I went to nutritional healer at that time. It was so many years ago. He helped me to a degree. I went for spiritual healing in Brazil, and then I found functional medicine. It completely changed my life because I now understood. I was trying to get to the root causes of my problem, and I could get those types of testing that I wasn't offered in traditional medicine world. And I thought that it was the best thing. Like I could see that there's possibility of having a parasite that I no one checked for in my case, or maybe many other nutritional deficiencies, so micronutrients that in traditional medicine, you're lucky if you get vitamin D tested, maybe magnesium, and that would be it most of the time. And then functional medicine offered other things like organic acid tests, like hormone testing, for example. Everything in inflammation involves hormones. We haven't got symptoms, but they are always hand in hand with hormone problems. So if you never address your hormones, you can't expect the healing. That's one of the very first things I learned from Dr. Kalish, who I took my training from in functional medicine from in 2009, that your adrenals and your inflammation and correcting adrenal balance, decreasing that inflammation is the first step most of the time. Yes, you do want to throw in the quick fixes. You do want to address and help someone that comes through your door and begging for help, immediate help, for sure. But without that part, decreasing inflammation is very difficult. So you could really do that right away, along with addressing symptoms, digestive symptoms. Or sometimes even the first step can be addressing your adrenals, testing them, and other. It could even be adrenals and sex hormone issues and other hormones, because we never want to underestimate the power of melatonin as a hormone. Melatonin is a hormone. If it's incredibly low, then you are not sleeping because of that hormone being low, of course you could expect your digestive health to be affected. Everyone knows, right? Even kids now know because they're watching so much YouTube and TikTok that if you're not sleeping well, your gut might hurt. My 12-year-old says that. So checking those hormones is essential. It is incredibly important. Other things, as far as the testing, I always like to dig for the root cause. That's truly me. So that's why I fell in love with functional medicine. It gave me that opportunity because I always want to dig what's going on here. And in pharmacy world, it was the mechanism of action of medicine that's also digging and figuring things out how. The word is how. And here I was looking for the root cause, so it was exciting, fun, and it was getting me well. So I wrote my very first website in 2009, 2010, with all these details on how I healed Crohn's. It was called Journey with Crohn's Disease. I no longer have the site, but my first clients came through that website. They said, help us, coach us. And that's how I took my first clients. And that's how over the years I was able to make this into what I do for a living and have a successful practice since 2009. I'm very proud of it. I continue tweaking programs because new things come about all the time. And for example, just if you read my newsletters weekly, just last week I wrote about the new probiotic that is researched for IBD and for chronic gut health issues that actually works very differently. So I am on top of things that are brand new in this world, but I also tweak and address things in my program that really work. They have been working for years. I am very proud of the success of my clients. It's such a rewarding thing when someone comes back and tells you how well they're doing and they're teaching the concept and they're teaching my program to their children and their children are doing so much better than their peers, like teenage girls, young 20s. The mother can teach them everything she learned. It's incredibly rewarding when they refer clients to me. I'm very proud of my practice and my protocols do work, and I keep on tweaking it to make it better and better every year. I probably, if you've been on my site, you know that I wrote 2 best-selling books. Crohn's and Colitis is a book that you could upload also from the website for free. If you haven't done that, you could do that right away on my website, digestive.com. There's a wealth of information there as well. So back to medical model, traditional medicine, and integrative approach. So I do not want to discount the benefits of the traditional model. No one wants to go to integrative practitioner or functional medicine practitioner if that person is if has a broken leg, or if the person is going through like serious symptoms that could have been appendicitis, tremendous pain. No one's going to go to functional or integrative doctor. They will go into emergency room. Heart attack, for example. We are so good at understanding and doing things for heart attacks right now. The survival rate is so high. Looking at years and decades when heart attacks was deadly, it was still practically in my lifetime. So we've came along with chemotherapy and other like immunotherapy and even personalized medicine. It's not developing as soon as I was hoping when the concept originally came about, but we still have a lot of advances, and we still have a lot of great things going on there. And as a pharmacist, originally, then I got my doctorate years later, trying to tie together what I've learned after Dr. Kalish, what I did with my clients over the years. I went back to school for doctorate. I even wrote my doctorate paper on probiotics. That's how much I believe that this can be integrated. We really want to open up to this world. Not everyone is still open to the integrative approach, not all doctors, not all practitioners. There are still people that truly believe in the holistic method. So, although I'm a big fan, for example, castor oil packs, all of you will benefit from doing castor oil packing. It's a wonderful way to detox. Sometimes it can even help during the flare when you have abdominal pain. But if you only rely on holistic, it's not the ideal way, especially if you've already been diagnosed with IBD. It's not easy to get all the way up there, all the way better from just holistic approach. It's as simple as that, especially with now the benefits of practitioners that are able to integrate, able to understand that we have these particular supplements, for example, that's not only going to help and address the root cause, but also potentiate certain medications, how they work. Some medications wouldn't work as well if that wasn't given together. So ideal approach is the integrative strategy, especially if you're working with someone that understands both worlds, the holistic functional medicine world and the world of traditional medicine, and able to put it together, able to understand that here is the medicine, and a client comes into me being recommended a certain supplement, maybe they already are taking that supplement, and looking at the medicine, you understand that these should not be taken together. We are now having a world where consumers are able to buy nutraceuticals or natural supplements easier with no problems. They get it delivered by Amazon the next day. Who's watching the interactions of the medication to supplement for them? No one is doing that. If the pharmacist is busy and only doing with medications, and believe me, as a pharmacist, I know what it's like in that world. There is absolutely no time unless you sit down with the patient in a room and go over that list. Most of the time, patients do not submit the list of supplements to the pharmacist, nor the doctor. So we have a major gap, so much opportunity for people that understand both sides of the world, the medical world and the functional world, and able to put it together. I think pharmacists are your best people, truly, because we've been educated in medicine and interactions, and those that took up functional medicine courses and have done their practice and able to understand, they're your best people to go and check things in between, because you don't want that supplement to potentiate bigger problems, to cause the interaction. Frankly, there are not that many reported. There are not that many medications that we have seen interact with supplements. But again, we don't see it being reported. It doesn't mean it's not happening. It really doesn't mean that. We test medications, and before they come out on the market, it might be too long of a process, but at least it comes out with a lot of studies already, with a lot of information, and we know a lot. But we don't have a lot of information on these combinations. That's why, like I said, you want to work with someone that understands mechanism of action of both. Sometimes I catch things that are not reported in their literature as a problem, as an interaction. Yet, I would never recommend them together. So, applying both worlds and making the best of it is incredibly important if you really want to be safe and get the best treatment plan and wellness plan from your practitioner. Back to understanding the connections. So, like I mentioned before, Crohn's and colitis, they're called inflammatory bowel diseases, and they say that the root cause is unknown. But we do think that there are at least a few possible root causes, possibly even many. It's a multifactorial base. Yet, we know that there's immune system dysregulation. So originally, when I was diagnosed years ago, it was called autoimmune disease. If you're going to look right now in the literature, it's not called the same way anymore. It's not called autoimmune disease, it's called immune system disease or immune system dysregulation. Something related to immune system mistakenly attacking the gut lining or just mistakenly overreacting to weather food particles that were leaking into abdominal cavity because of the leakiness of the gut or because of certain reaction from the past that's now causing that reaction. Could be environmental trigger, it could be the food you're eating that now causing the true allergy-like reaction. It could be IgE reaction or IgG, which is an inflammatory type of reaction. It could be that imbalance of your microbes, good to bad. We used to call those bad bugs, good bugs. Probiotics are the good bugs. We no longer want to really do that because we found that some of the species in the gut, the ones that we used to call them bad bugs, we need to have that as a whole diverse population to have a good, healthy microbiome. The key to healthy microbiome is to have that diversity. That's the more diverse, the healthier usually the human microbiome. And back to that discussion of microbiome disruption, what can cause that disruption? We know a major reason of that as an antibiotic intake, right? It could wipe out good flora. We need often to introduce probiotics in order to restore that flora. But it's not only the antibiotics. We have that with inflammatory bowel disease. What we found in science is that we are more prone, people with chronic gut issues, especially Crohn's and colitis, we are more prone to have that quicker disruption of the flora than general population. That's what really we're noticing in the literature. So for someone that, I'm going to give an easy example so you could understand what I'm saying here. For example, if we take a picture or we test your stool and it shows up with good numbers of good keystone species, good bacteria, and it's showing up today as a normal levels, we're very happy with your results, and something really stressful happens to you the next day, I don't know, fire, something that really can easily cause the disruption of your microbiome. It doesn't have to be probiotic intake. Someone that doesn't have that predisposition to Crohn's or colitis would have a shift. It would show the difference the next day from that stressful event, but someone with IBD would show much larger, much on a bigger scale. You'll see that difference. So we shift quicker, and it's harder for us to get back to a good microbiome, to a good diverse microbiome. So that's where we need that specific approach. It's for someone that understands probiotics, which ones, and especially if you do the proper kind of testing. We also do depend on that gut stress, gut axis, brain gut axis. Without balancing those adrenals, without balancing those hormones. And that can be done through nutraceutical way. It could be done through stress reduction techniques. It can be done with other techniques, maybe therapy sometimes. But once that brain-gut connection modulated way better, an emotional state is more balanced, we do see better results. Because just an example of someone that did tremendously better in my program, within 3 months, we've had success like I've rarely seen. The biomarkers were practically perfect, and that's not easy to achieve with someone with chronic IBD for years. And we did that, and all of a sudden this person had tremendous stress at work, and she went into a very small flare again because of that emotional state that triggered physical flare. What could have been done, and if we can prevent that with adrenal support during the time for someone of adrenal stress, that's often incredibly helpful in preventing those flare-ups. So pillars of gut healing. And again, I use all that and more in my programs. Those are very, very important to address. If you don't do each one of these, you'll be missing out and you don't always get to full recovery. Because inflammatory bowel disease is rooted in inflammation, and inflammation is often systemic. So we do want to address that inflammation and reducing it with foods, anti-inflammatory foods, omega-3 supplements or omega-3 foods. We have to calm down that immune system response. There are supplements specifically used for addressing that, decreasing that overreacting immune system response. Very important to do that in a mild way, because again, if you put in something that's incredibly potent, like I've seen herbs, for example, very, very potent, and they're not really doing the modulation of immune system response, which is the key. The key in Crohn's and colitis is to modulate it. You don't want to overstimulate immune system response. If you remember what was going on during like heavy COVID times, the cytokine response, and sometimes people were doing those boosting immune system supplementation or products, they were doing a little too much, causing more symptoms, causing more cytokine storm. So the key is to know to modulate and use a modulating product instead of heavy duty immune system not support but immune system boost should be a no-no in inflammatory bowel disease approach. Rebuilding gut integrity. This is huge. You cannot expect to heal that gut. You cannot expect to avoid further food sensitivities if you do not rebuild gut integrity. Another way of in layman terms, it's the leakiness of the gut. And it's a real thing. It just in literature, it's called intestinal permeability. And in our terms, it's called leaky gut. It does affect your symptoms. It does affect how fast you're going to be doing, how much better you're going to be doing, how fast you're going to recover. So without this part here, you cannot expect to get that much further into healing. And this is a really big part of my program too. I take care of that in the beginning of our work together. So products like glutamine, there's a zinc product, collagen, specific ones for individual clients. All these can help and will help most of the time. just targeting specifically which ones is the key here. Now, restoring microbial balance. To do it perfectly, in the perfect world, functional diagnostics are incredible here. So you don't just throw in everything in the kitchen sink and using the probiotics that someone recommended on Facebook group or someone recommended on TikTok. This is not I mean, you could get lucky and just that could be potentially a right product. I'm not saying that it will never work, but it really is not the way to approach your individual gut imbalance. Ideally, you want to test, you want to see how well you're doing with keystone species. These are the good bacteria, good bugs that are responsible for many functions, especially the two, F. pranziti and Akkermansia. Those two are responsible for anti-inflammatory effect. If you don't have these in optimal numbers, it's very hard to get that anti-inflammatory effect. So looking for those two specifically, but there are others as well. And GI map from Diagnostic Solutions, for example, one of my favorite labs to look at in these cases, it will test for these species for you. So you want to repopulate beneficial bacteria, you want to give someone targeted probiotics that will address their issues that show up on that test. Prebiotics are important, fermented foods are important, diverse, healthy microbiome is the key. What happens with prebiotics is actually one of the questions that came up earlier. I'm not sure if the person is on this call. The prebiotics that giving you that side effect of having painful gut, having bloated feeling is usually an indication that of two things. Number one, you have imbalance of gut microbiome. And number two, you haven't been eating a lot in the past of good prebiotic foods enough to feed the probiotics, because prebiotics are the food for the probiotics. And that means you haven't been doing that feeding before, so you could feed the probiotics so you feel okay. The key, this is $1 million suggestion here, just because you're here listening. The key is to take very, very little bit of probiotic foods and start very, very low, but be incredibly consistent and grow that number to a suggested amount. Never start with the suggested amount. You could be potentially causing yourself more bloating. If you do that and grow very slowly, you could find yourself all of a sudden eating a little bit of lentil soup and not having the gas or gas pain. It's a wealth of helpful, beneficial bacteria in your gut now that you're going to be feeding it. That alone hopefully is going to help you tremendously just because you're here and listening to that. Of course, you want to remove triggers, and that's without a question. It's one of the big pillars to gut healing. You want to find out which foods to eliminate. I often run through food IgG testing, IgE testing, depending CP4 testing, depends on what people are showing up with. Infections, if they show up, for example, on stool test and it hasn't been picked up before, you're already a winner. You already know that you're going to most likely feel better by getting rid of that particular infection. Often H. pylori infections are missed in the traditional world. We have other infections. We have C. diff being missed in Crohn's and colitis people, and toxins from those infections, toxins from the environmental problems. They usually potentiate inflammation and cause the symptom to be worse without even realizing it. Often People with IBD are on immunosuppressant drugs, and they won't even notice the infection until it gets really severe. So really, really important to be doing testing often enough and find out what the triggers were. It's important to support stress resilience. So, like I said, whether you're doing some kind of stress reduction, or whether you're doing vagal nerve exercise, or you're doing hygienic sleep, or and all of it together to make sure that you are in great emotional health. Of course, having to say that, I understand that if you're in pain from Crohn's and colitis, if you're constantly living in flares, what kind of emotional health can you have? So I work with my clients, and I know it's a catch-22. You can't get one without the other. That's why we always address that at the same time as we work on the gut. So that cannot be missed. Just to get better, it just can't be. So I do discuss with my clients food sensitivities. For those that choose, for example, not to do food sensitivity testing for different reasons, whether they already done it before, they don't want to repeat it, or because of the costs, or because of other limitations, maybe they don't feel like doing another blood test. There are different reasons why some of my clients could say that I'm not yet ready for food sensitivity tests. Elimination diet is the first step. And although it's like a little blind test, it's still a way to figure things out. I'm not completely opposed to elimination diet. When you eliminate the major inflammatory foods, gluten, dairy, soy, corn, and then reintroduce it on the basis of for every 4-day reintroduction, meaning, for example, you are back to trying foods after holding them for a while, and then you start eating, for example, dairy, and you do that one on Monday, and then for 3 more days you won't take it. So 4 days straight you didn't have that food. This way, usually people feel better, although I am not the biggest fan of gluten and dairy in cases of Crohn's and colitis people. I think that these are too inflammatory, and they can be triggering. But again, testing and knowing for sure, it's always best. So if you haven't done that yet, it does make sense, because we went through in functional medicine world, because I'm in it for so long, 16 years already. I've seen food sensitivity testing being used so much in the beginning, 2010, 2011, 12, and then it became a thing that no one wants to do food sensitivity test, because everything you had that morning will now show up on the test, on the IgG test, because you just had it this morning. It has to be a mistake. Well, most of the time, the food sensitivity reactivity and inflammatory response is because of leakiness in the gut. And if you did eat that this morning, it can potentially show up high. So wouldn't you want to know what's causing the inflammatory response? So years after, we are back on the wagon of possibly doing food sensitivities. I don't think it hurts to do them for sure, because it could be the same thing you're eating every day, like turkey, that you would never think that it could be causing inflammatory response in your gut, and you are eating it every day. So it makes sense to consider it. Environmental testing is really important too. Depending on your symptoms, if someone is doing so much better on my program, I would not be recommending any metal test or any mold test, chemical test. If they're improving, feeling great, so much energy, I wouldn't really consider. But if it's someone that has done my program and only gets to about 60 to 70% better, and something is still triggering them, that's something to think about in that kind of case. And again, back to those hidden infections. something like a stool test with the GI map will uncover those parasites, will give us a clue about the SIBO case. Or if you have a candidal overgrowth, that's a big thing to consider addressing with nutraceuticals, because that's not an easy, it's an infection. Candidal overgrowth is not just, you having a lot of sugar and you caused yourself to have a little fungal overgrowth. That could be problematic because it's longer to heal. It takes sometimes it's even creating painful symptoms, painful stomach, and longer time to heal from infections. So you should consider, if that shows up on your test, definitely consider addressing that. And stress patterns you could address even if you don't like things like therapy or, for example, meditation. You could do something like tapping. There's so many different tools in our box, and I usually spend an entire class on addressing stress and emotional health. When you see your traditional doctor, whether you're working with the traditional doctor or maybe you're working currently with the functional medicine doctor, these are the typical labs that you'll take a look at on your visits. C-reactive protein, it measures general inflammation. So sometimes you see these regularly taken. We want this under 1. Fecal calprotectin is gut-specific inflammation. And originally, it was specifically for people with IBD, inflammatory bowel disease. And we want to make sure that 50 is pushing it, but we want it at least under 200. Often successful cases, if we get to 50, we really want to celebrate that. Then we have sedimentation rate. That's another inflammatory marker, not specific for Crohn's and colitis. Depending on who your doctor is, sometimes they would do the sed rate and only that as a marker. But the key is consistency. So if your doctor has been looking at one particular biomarker only, and that's how they know from time to time, seeing you, if you're improving or not. Fecal calprotectin is an excellent marker for Crohn's and colitis people. So if you haven't done that yet, discuss that with your doctor, and that could be your comfort zone. Like, okay, my markers have been improving on this functional medicine journey. I'm doing much better now. Just that feeling alone is a lot. And here are a few other things in the nutritional status, and there's so much more. Micronutrient level that I do with my clients. They look at so many different micronutrients, but this is just something you'll typically see with your regular doctor. Vitamin D, always aim for 50 to 80. Most of my clients that come in, even on a prescription medication, for example, they come in with dangerously low vitamin D, 20, 25, 19, not even 30. So make sure that your levels are really in a good optimal range. Iron and ferritin is the anemia markers. We really need to make sure they're also in optimal ranges, because you will feel tired, you will feel cold, you will feel very uncomfortable. It's really easy to lose iron with cases of ulcerative colitis, for example, because of the continuous bleeding. So do make sure you are your own best healer. We are taking control of our health. We are no longer going to give it to someone else. Working with me, with my experience, with everything I've seen over the years, I believe is incredibly beneficial, because I've helped so many people and I have the experience and I understand. But your mindset also needs to shift from fully giving my health to someone else. I want to understand things too. I want to know, what is my iron level now? What was it 6 months ago? What was it a year ago? That's how you progress as well, and become your own self help in a way, right? B12 and folate are huge as well. Most of my clients come in with really low B12. Thankfully, B12 is easy to replenish with good methylated B. Please take another tip from today's session. This is one of the most important things you will do for yourself as well, whether you do have methylation issue or not. Most of my clients have the problem with methylation, MTHFR, if you heard. But methylated B12 is the key here, and not the cyanocobalamin that you might be receiving currently, but methylated or hydroxy B12, depending again. If I was to work with you, then I would know exactly which one, hydroxy or B12. And if you're totally unsure where you stand with MTHFR, go for hydroxy B12. That would be the safest bet. So this is another golden nugget here today for the session for you to, even if your ranges are showing up a little higher on the retest with the B12, it doesn't mean that you're going to have a problem. It just means that you finally got those levels saturated. You might choose, the side effect of that would be having good energy finally. And don't forget that B12 and folate are often depleted from certain medications that are given for IBD, inflammatory bowel disease. They are commonly main prednisone, for example, or other anti-inflammatory drugs. They will deplete certain minerals or nutrients that you want to check periodically. Like, where do I stand with my micronutrients? So with the natural tools that you will complement medical treatment that you go, for example, work with your traditional doctor. Between the anti-inflammatory nutrition, you have the strategic probiotic use, you have the stress reduction, you have me teaching you exactly what to remove from your foods and what could be beneficial for you to eat. We also discuss gut inflammation, how to address it. We also discuss toxicity, which is something that a lot of practitioners don't do. And that's very important to understand how you can detox properly. And not in the bad word of detox. You feel better weekly on this program. It such proud moment for me to, I put together past few years. These are not the numbers from the original date I started my practice. This is more of a recent numbers I do with my clients. Have 73% average of a symptoms reduction, which is I'm very proud of these numbers. Quality of life is different, more energy, better sleep. That's everything. A lot of my clients do discuss their medication needs with their doctor and reduce the medication. I do have clients that completely off the medications at this moment. So, and extended remission is a key bonus, right? Cherry on top of the cake. And in my program, I break it down into modules that are easy to listen to. They give you actionable steps, actionable protocols, meal plans. In the end of the modules, you have a call with me, which is something that costs more than this program cost itself. We priced it so convenient for you because I felt like after years of doing this, I'm so comfortable and so proud of what I've done that I'm able to introduce my program to you and offer that in a packaged way, and you still get a call with me to after you're done with listening to the modules to help you with your action plan further. I just want to show you what you're going to be getting. Let me show you our new slide that's the program is coming about over here. Here we go. This is what you're going to get with my program. You're going to get that call with me, which is one-on-one, 8 video lessons, downloadable food diary, healing meal plan, sample menus. You're going to get the supplemental protocol, which is incredible, especially if you haven't started yet in the world of functional medicine and nutraceuticals. I'm really excited to offer that to you because these supplements put together have proven over and over how much that can be helpful, whether you're doing the medications or you're just starting right now with supplements. And it's important to take them together. It's important to complete them, to see at least 3 months to understand whether they work for you, because the responses like, I've tried and it's not looking like it's going to help me. How long did you try? Oh, about a week. No, of course not. Of course, it's not going to get you to the point that you're already going to feel better. It's important to give things a chance, especially if it's something like a probiotic, for example, or anti-inflammatory. It does take time, or even adrenal support. Like with most of the hormones support, you do need to give it time. And again, back to everything that I've been saying from the very beginning, it is incredibly important to address everyone's case separately and individually. Everyone has different genetics. Everyone has a different home. Everyone has different environmental triggers. Everyone has different way of sensitivity to, even besides the foods, sensitivity to the products. You could see someone that has the same age, same symptoms, same background, same genetics, but one is doing incredibly well with the supplement and someone else does not. Why? And they continue digging for the root cause. And that's what I'm really, really good at. I do offer a 10% discount. The program is rolling out tonight. And that's going to last, the coupon is going to last for 3 weeks. I will also be emailing that information to each one of you that attended. So you'll have those 3 weeks to purchase the program. Again, the price for the program is less than my hour of consultation, and it's valued at least at $10,000, because this is what I've been doing and tweaking and getting it better and better for my clients over the years. So I think it's a really bonus time for you guys to take advantage of. And at this time, I will take questions if you guys have, or I believe we have questions that have been submitted ahead of time. Let me look at the chat.
I just posted them, but I will let our guests go first if they have any questions for you.
Okay, I see. They are muted. We can, I guess, unmute everyone if they're comfortable. Maybe, do you know how to raise hand inside the Zoom? Let's unmute them for a second, if that's okay. I'm going to reply to these questions quickly here.
You want me to read them?
I think, yeah, I see that. It's fine. Okay. Are you guys able to see it? Hopefully you can. Can I take fiber or probiotics safely? If so, which ones? So I mentioned how to take fiber, the golden nugget, if you remember. But fiber and probiotics most of the time are safe. and which ones would be ideally checked with the test and ideally recommended for you individually, because like I said, there are probiotics that can be too much. So you want to go with those that are on a modulating side, not overstimulating side. It's in my protocol for Crohn's and colitis on full script. I can share the protocol. The protocol is shared in the program if you purchase it. Is it okay to combine supplements with medications? Many supplements can be combined. And I did talk a little bit about the drug interactions earlier today. Supplements and medications, unless there's a duplication in the mechanism of action, and that would be something I will catch if you come in after another practitioner that wasn't aware. I will raise awareness, and I will make sure that both of you know, you practitioner and you. And if some of the supplements, most of the supplements so far for inflammation are okay with medications. Again, everything you should be discussing with your doctor, everything that you're doing should be discussed with your doctor and hopefully a pharmacist too. What labs or biomarkers show I'm healing? So back to calprotectin, that's really great way of looking at your gut inflammation and inflammatory markers, your nutrients, vitamin C levels, your zinc levels. You have those to look at. Can I eat normally again? Oh boy, I still am gluten-free and dairy-free, and I've been in full remission since 2005. So do I want to go back to normal eating, whatever the normal means? That's again, I've had clients that were able to get back to some gluten, some dairy with no issues whatsoever. But again, it's very individual and we'll work on that. How long does it take to see real results? So that's really good question. A lot of my clients get to at least 60 to 70% better within 3 months, which again, I'm very proud of that number. Can you also take care of microscopic colitis? Microscopic colitis are definitely something I've seen over the years, and I worked with clients with microscopic colitis. Sometimes it's even faster remission because of less of systemic effects on the body. So that is definitely what I've seen over and over. If there are no more questions, I'm going to wrap this. For tonight, I will email everyone the coupon code and the link for the course. I'm very excited to roll it out tonight. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, because I know how valuable everyone's time is and you're spending it here with me. Thank you, and I will see you guys next time.
Thank you.